All right, so our first line is the line y equals to 1 over 3x plus 2. So for that line, our y-intercept is 2, and our slope is 1/3, so our rise is 1, our run is 3, and the line looks something like this. Okay, now we know the second line is going to be parallel to the first, so the second line is going to have a slope of 1/3, and it's going to pass through the point 3 comma -6. So just to get a visual of that, here's a line 3 -6. We're going to go up 1 over 3, and here is that second line. All right, so what we need is we need an equation of this second line. So the equation of any line is given by y equals to mx plus b. So we know the slope is 1/3 x. So slope is 1/3, so we have 1/3 x, but we don't know what the y-intercept is. So to get the y-intercept, we're going to plug in our point xy. So the y value is -6, and the x value is 1. And so, I'm sorry, not 1, 3. And so when you cross out, then you get 1. So we have -6 equals to 1 plus b. So the y-intercept of that second line is going to be -7, which makes the equation y equals to 1 over 3x minus 7. So our objective is to find the distance between these two lines. Now, the distance is going to be given by the perpendicular line that's going to like cut through these two. So it's going to look something like this, so where it's perpendicular to both lines. So the first point of that perpendicular line, we know what that is. It's going to be the y-intercept here, which is the point 0, 2. But to calculate distance, we need to have 2 points. And I don't know what's happening with my pen. Sorry. Oh my God. All right, so the first point is going to be 0, 2. This is the first point in that perpendicular line. And remember that perpendicular line represents the distance. So we need a second point, which is this point here. Now, to get that second point, we need to know where this red line and the perpendicular line are going to intersect. But for us to know where those two lines intersect, we need to know the equation of that purple line. So here's what we know about the purple line. It's going to be perpendicular to the original line, and perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. So if the slope of the original line is 1/3, then the slope of the perpendicular line will be its negative reciprocal, which is going to be -3. So far, we have y equals to -3x. And the y-intercept should be easy. It's just going to be 2 because we're starting from 0 to on purpose, because we can draw a perpendicular line anywhere, but we're starting it here instead of like here or here, just to make this equation easier. So then my y-intercept is going to be 2. Okay, now we have our first point, which is 0, 2, but to find distance, I need to know the second point, which is where this second parallel line and the perpendicular line intersect. Now, to find the point of intersection, we are going to set these equal to each other, because basically it's like, where do they have the same y value? So we're going to set these equal to each other. So we're going to say 1/3 x minus 7 equals to -3x plus 2. Now, there's a little trick we can use whenever there's a fraction, because we don't want to deal with fractions. To get rid of the fraction, which is 3, we can multiply both sides by 3. And the reason we do this is because when you distribute the 3, then this fraction goes away, because 3 times 1/3 is going to be 1, so we have x. But if you introduce a new term, we have to do the same thing to both sides. So we have 3 times 1/3, which is x, and then minus 21, and that's going to equal to -9x plus 6. So now we get all the x's on one side. So if I add 9x, we're going to get 10x. And if I move the -21 to the right, I get 27. And then if I divide by 10, I get x equals to 2.7. And I want to keep this in decimal form and not fraction form, just because it's going to be easier to find the y value when you plug it in. Now, for the y value, it doesn't really matter which equation I choose, because the y value for both is the same since it's a point of intersection. So I'm going to use a second equation. It looks a little bit easier. So that's going to be y equals to -3x, and we know that x is 2.7, and then you have a plus 2. So so if we plug this in, so we have -3 times 2.7 plus 2, it's going to give me -6.1. So this point right here, the second point, where the parallel line and the perpendicular line intersect, that's going to be 2.7 comma negative 6.1. Okay, so we have 2.7 comma negative 6.1. So once we have these 2 points, we can find the distance between these 2 points using the distance formula. So the last part, the distance formula is given by the square root of x1 minus x2 squared. So we have 0 minus 2.7 squared plus y1, which is 2, minus y2, which is negative 6.1 squared. If you simplify this, 0 minus 2.7 is going to be negative 2.7 squared. And then 2 minus negative 6.1, that's going to be 8.1 squared. And then if you put this into any calculator, you'll get that it's going to be about 8.5. All right, so if you have any questions, y'all let me know.